Well, good afternoon and happy Friday. This is Smartyjewels, your 10-minute professor, teaching on 30 jewels in 30 days that will help create a shift or a second win in your life. And we are on day 5 of the jewels that I've been teaching on. And the jewel for today is generosity. Generosity. Now, what exactly does it mean to be generous? It means that you are a cheerful giver. And it means that you give very freely. Now, some of you may be saying, well, that's easy to do if you have a lot to give. I don't have anything to give, but yes, you do. We all have something that we have to give that someone is in need of, and you have no idea what that is. But the spirit that I'm speaking of is that you are a person, you create the habit of being a person that whatever it is that you have, that you don't mind sharing it, whether it's a resource, whether it's a tip or a strategy, whether it's a lesson learned. You would be surprised to know that something that you did and didn't work could help someone else. I had someone to inbox me and say, hey, put your YouTube web address in your bio. Now that may sound simple to someone who is used to using social media, but that helped me a lot, and it was so easy for me to do, and it helped move my needle forward. They had a generous spirit to just share with me something simple like that made a huge difference in my life. But if they were a person that was stingy with information or stingy with wanting to share, that maybe I would have discovered it and someone else would have come along and said, hey, to do that. But I'm just showing you that nothing is too big or too small, and you'd be so surprised at what you have that someone else could benefit from. And we all have something that we can give, okay? First of all, I'm gonna give you a strategy in order to be able to practice being a generous person. Whenever I go out to lunch with someone or whenever I invite someone out, I always try to make it a habit to pay first. Be the first person to spend, whether it's going into a grocery store with someone and hey, we're walking and we want to get a bottle of water, or whether or not you have some tickets to an event or you want to share. Anytime you have an opportunity to spend first, that is a spend first strategy. Please do that. And let me tell you why. Number one, when you spend first, it's very disarming. We have become a part of a society where everyone thinks that someone wants something from them. And if people think that you want something from them for free, they definitely will feel like, okay, this is someone that I need to avoid, or I'm going to look at them with the lens of skepticism. But when you automatically remove that tennis match in their mind of thinking that you want something from them, and you go first with being able to extend the olive branch of generosity, it will make a difference in just setting the tone for establishing the relationship. It sets the tone for establishing your character and who you are as a person. I'm not saying that this is not buying friends at all. This is saying that because I understand the world that we're living in, and because I understand that there are things that have happened where people have probably been taken advantage of many times that have caused them to have this defense mechanism up. And because of your higher level of understanding, because you have lived and because maybe you've been tuning into these mini sessions, you now understand the power of going first. And you can apply that even in a relationship. The person who is the one who is able to say, hey, I'm sorry, I didn't know that I offended you. But once they realize it, they are able to go first. No one should be the same person over and over again in a relationship to have to apologize first or to have to dial back every time to accommodate someone else. Be generous, have a generous spirit, and it will lend itself to every aspect of your life, whether it's in business, whether it's with your family, whether or not it's in a personal relationship. And then you pay attention, because even if someone doesn't have the knowledge that you now have, and know that that is something that we should be practicing, because it creates goodwill and the world responds to our generous spirit. And before you know it, you'll realize that, oh my gosh, people are now generous to me. I get things that I didn't ask for. I get invited to things that I never even knew was in existence. But because when you give, it opens the door for you to be able to receive. I'll give you one example before I go. One of the last trips that I took for recruitment was going to Harvard University. And if you've been on my page, you know that that was something that I was very excited about. When we were in the airport, there was a lady who was standing by a kiosk, and I walked by and I smiled at her. And maybe that smile was the cue that she needed to then prompt her to start with her sales pitch. But here is the deal. I smiled at her. It disarmed her. It made me feel approachable. And so she began to tell me about a deal that she had going on with Sky Miles, because she saw us traveling. This was right before the COVID-19 really hit in a big way. And she started telling me and my husband about an American Express that was one specific for Delta Sky Miles. So we already had an American Express, but the one that she started telling us about had more benefits, travel benefits. And we had just had an issue with our bags and luggage, and was like, she just started breaking down information that was helpful to us for people who travel for work and for pleasure. And so long story short, I ended up applying for the card and got it, okay? But here's the deal. Because I smiled at her, I gave her what I had at the time, which was a smile. I had nothing else in my hands to give. She then became disarmed and was comfortable with saying, hey, this is someone that I can feel comfortable sharing my information with. As a result of that, you may say, okay, well, you helped her sell a card. Yes, I did. But guess what? Who knew that we would be home for all of these months after that? That was my last trip. And since I was home and I had more time, I was able to I got the information, and I was like, hey, I think I used to have a Sky Miles number a long time ago. And it prompted me to call because I had to set up some things anyway. Would you believe, as a result of me being generous, starting with a smile, her then feeling disarmed and comfortable enough to share, I was able to get this card. But here's this. Not only did I get the card, because now I had this time on my hand, I was able to find Sky Miles that I had from over 10 years ago. They happily added them to my account, and I earned enough points from that one encounter to have a free trip, the equivalent of a free trip to South Africa or anywhere in the world that I want to go. All of that I got just because I was generous with what I had, which was a smile. So the point of this is never underestimate the power of a kind word, a like, a compliment, a thumbs up. We have to create a generation of givers, and you will recognize that the more you give and the more that you have a spirit of giving to others, you will find that it will find its way back to you in ways that you never imagined. So as soon as this COVID is over, I'm packing my bags. Have a great day.